I dreamed I was invited to a costume party on a beautiful island in an endless sea. The island was round in every way. To get to the party, I had to crawl through a narrow tunnel. It was an ordeal, and I got stuck. I felt all the breath squeezed out of me, pressure from all sides. My new costume got wrinkled and twisted. I nearly gave up on the party altogether, but a kind hand pulled me through, and I was free. I had many friends expecting me there, and they all rejoiced when I arrived. I felt a bit wrung out in my first moments. My costume was deflated, and I could not walk or speak. My friends carried me. I looked around and was amazed at all the colors and beauty I saw. It was a totally unique place beyond compare. As I breathed into my costume, the wrinkles and twists flattened out, and it grew larger and larger. After some time, eventually I could speak. After even more time, I could walk too. The costume party was vast and wild. Everything imaginable was happening there simultaneously every moment. My friends helped to orient me so that I would not get lost or hurt. Sometimes I did not recognize my friends through their costumes, but it became a fun game to know them by their eyes and the tone of their movements. I kept breathing into my costume, and it kept growing and growing. Eventually, it fit me really well. The party was full of mirrors, and at first it was so silly to walk past and see my reflection. As time went on, though, a strange thing happened. I started to forget we were all wearing costumes. I started thinking the costume was me. I started thinking their costumes were them. This happened to everyone, and as it did, specific costume types started to group together. Over time, some costume groups became aggressive toward others, just because of their costume types. I felt swept up in these arguments. I defended my costume and where it came from. I had been invited to this party, but I did not make my costume. It was given to me. Anyone could invite a new friend to the party, but everyone new had to be sponsored by 2 guests already there. To invite someone new, the 2 sponsors had to create a new costume. This was done by squeezing their costumes together until a thread from the hem of each came loose. This loosening of threads was quite an art, and due to this, it was practiced quite often. As the threads came loose, both sponsors would spiral their breath into them together for the first moments, which caused the threads to blend and grow in a balanced way. As this growth began, one sponsor would take over, linking it to their costume and breathing into it more inside the tunnel. When it reached the right size, the new guest would climb through the tunnel and arrive in full garb. As everyone forgot they were wearing costumes, they also forgot how they knew each other. They forgot to look into each other's eyes and looked only at each other's costumes instead. It was a mess. More arguments started, and it got worse. Then the people who started the arguments left, but the arguments continued even stronger. And then even those people left and went home. But the arguments raged on and on and on. In the midst of all this madness, I happened to pass by a mirror. But instead of looking at the reflection of my costume, I looked into the reflection of my own eyes. I looked deeper and deeper, and I realized there was someone underneath my costume. I dove into the depth of that sparkle in my own eyes, and I remembered that the costume was not me at all. I looked into other people's eyes and saw that it was true for them too. Everyone was wearing a costume at this crazy party, and to remember who anyone was, all we needed to do was to really look into each person's eyes. When I did this, all the masks fell away. There was no hiding. There were no costumes. I told others that we were all wearing costumes, but they were arguing too loudly to care. I shouted so they could hear me, which disrupted their arguments, but they did not believe what I said. They got very, very angry, and they forced me to leave early. I did not get a chance to say goodbye to my friends as I was cast out of the party on the spherical island. But I left my costume there so my friends could say goodbye to what they thought was me.